know a lot about DNA, didn't you?
I can care less about DNA.
We're in a bind here. Your DNA is matching what we found on her, under her fingernails.
I don't know how my DNA was under her fingernails.
This is Mo Maurice Gibbs. For the past 15 years, Mo has committed crime after crime after crime, despite being a corrections officer. But this time, there is no getting away, no matter how much he tries to lie.
People make mistakes, Mo.
I didn't make this mistake.
The polygraph, I can dismiss that. The DNA, I can't. And I'm only doing this because you're a fellow law enforcement person. But you need to cut your losses here.
At 12:23 p.m. on September 13, 2006, Mindy Morgenstern logged off her computer at Valley City State University, North Dakota, and left campus to rest at her nearby apartment in the Victory Park complex. That would be the last time anyone heard from her. Shortly after 12:30 p.m., Mindy went completely radio silent as friends and family tried to reach her. Initially, no one thought much of it. But 8 hours later at 8:49 p.m., her close friends Tony and Danielle became alarmed and drove to her apartment, only to discover a horrifying scene. Mindy was laying motionless on the floor, surrounded by blood and unresponsive. Panic erupted across the complex. Neighbors screamed and 911 calls came pouring in. First responders quickly arrived. While Tony, Danielle, and nearby neighbors were initially considered potential suspects, their alibis were solid, and DNA found under Mindy's fingernails didn't match any of them. Strangely, however, none of Mindy's items were missing, and there weren't even signs of a break-in. Whoever this was either followed Mindy inside her apartment or was already there with the sole intent to kill. But who was the murderer? To find out, investigators began going door to door in Mindy's apartment building and asked male residents to voluntarily provide DNA samples to eliminate them from the investigation. And this is when Mo Maurice Gibbs was discovered, a man who lived directly below Mindy's apartment and worked as a corrections officer at Barnes County Jail. Mo only knew Mindy through his wife, who was casually acquainted with her, but Mo's DNA was identified as the major contributor under Mindy's fingernails. And that was just the beginning. In 2004, a young woman in Fargo was assaulted in her home. Though DNA had been collected, no match had ever been found until now. Mo's sample matched that case too. This made him shoot to the top of the suspect list, and he was soon brought in for an interview and polygraph test on September 20th, a week after the murder.
Do you have any problem with taking a polygraph or anything?
No, I don't.
Okay. I appreciate that because it's going to help us a lot.
Not a problem.
Okay. One of the other things too that we ask before we start this, and I ask this to everybody, just because you're law enforcement, you don't have any weapons on you or anything like that, do you?
Sure. My phone and my keys.
Oh, okay.
So.
Nothing else on?
No.
Okay. And you understand the issue that we're dealing with?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And what's your understanding of the issue that we're dealing with?
What's my understanding of it?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody was murdered.
Yeah, okay. And that person was Mindy Morgenstern, right? Okay. And did you have anything to do with that?
No.
Okay. I didn't think you probably would, being in law enforcement and all that kind of thing. From doing these type of investigations for several years, I've been doing polygraphs for several years. The person that would probably do something like this probably has hurt people in the past. And I know you've gotten into that, but other than that, they probably have a history of hurting people, or women have with them, or hurting people they love, or things like that. And you're not any of those people, are you?
No.
Yeah. I know you said you've had some problems in the past, but that was a long time ago.
Mo is definitely one of those people, because detectives had learned that Mo wasn't even his original name. In the early 1990s, Glendale Morgan Jr. enlisted in the U.S. Navy after graduating from high school in South Carolina. While stationed in Norfolk between 1993 and 1994, Glenn began displaying behavioral issues due to his affiliation with gang culture. And it would all boil over in April 1994 when Glenn, an active duty sailor, took part in a drive-by shooting targeted at another service member. After Glenn was accused of attempted premeditated murder and court-martialed, he served 4 years in prison. After his release in 1998, Glenn changed his name to Mo Maurice Gibbs and relocated to North Dakota, the very state where the 2004 assault took place. Shockingly, he was later hired as a corrections officer at Barnes County Jail. For years, he desperately tried to hide his identity while being the same Mo who had once tried to kill another member of the military. And this is why you will hear detectives refer back to his past throughout this interview.
When did you first move into that apartment?
I would say our 6 months lease just ended in October. The first October was in, so I would say, I want to say April, but I'm not exactly sure. I believe it was April 1st we actually moved in.
Okay. Okay. Prior to that, where were you living at?
We were living at
When did you, I know you said you were living in Fargo for a while. Do you remember about when you moved here to Valley City?
It might have been February, I believe,
February of this year?
of
05.
05.
Okay. You weren't married when you came here?
No.
Okay. Had you been married before you got married this time?
I was married before,
Oh,
but
really?
not like, I was already divorced. I got divorced in
Oh, okay.
97.
Okay,
But I mean-
and I didn't ask you earlier, but you had been married previous to this
Yes.
marriage here?
Yes.
Okay, and you got divorced when?
In 97.
Okay, so you moved into that building in April. Did your wife live with you right away at that point?
Yes.
Your current wife moved in
Yes.
with you right away?
We were living together in the house before that.
Okay, so how long have you lived together then?
Since I moved here in February.
Did you know your wife prior to moving here?
Yeah. We were dating and I was living in Fargo.
Okay,
So it was, we were trying to make things work. And it was like, why don't you just move up here and I
Sure.
could go to school here. So that's what made me move up here.
all right. Now you moved into the apartment over there. Did you know who Mindy was?
Yes, I knew her. She worked with my wife's sister.
Okay, your wife's sister is,
Yeah, but she's in Kent right now. She goes to school in Kent.
okay. So you met Mindy through,
Yes.
so did you know Mindy well enough that you were on a first name basis? You talked to each other all the time?
Well, no, we didn't talk to each other all the time. It was in passing. Like we would see each other pass and be like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
But it was no long conversations.
Oh,
Like
okay,
that.
okay. But she knew your name?
Yeah, I would believe so.
Okay.
Because she knows my wife,
Okay.
so they know the whole family.
Did you guys get together and visit at all?
Like just to go out and hang out.
Well, even in the apartment building.
No, we never hung out. I mean, I went to her place one time, and that was probably either a week and a half or 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And that was just because she was coming home and she was holding her pants, holding a laundry basket and her book bag. And
Oh,
I helped, me and were leaving, so I
Okay.
helped her out to her apartment.
Okay.
And that was it.
Okay.
But other than that,
So that's the only time you've ever been up in her
Yes,
apartment, was
yes.
about a week and a half.
yes.
Was Mindy ever in your apartment?
Not that I mean, if she was there with my wife when I was
Okay.
at work, I don't know, but
Okay.
not to my knowledge, she wasn't.
According to friends and classmates, they grew concerned when Mindy failed to respond to texts, as they had plans to meet for dinner on the evening of September 13th. This is when they decided to check her apartment and found her. But they had noticed a number of unusual signs. The door was unusually unlocked, which was out of character for Mindy, who always kept it shut and secured. When they found Mindy, they initially thought it might have been because of her multiple sclerosis, a condition she managed but that could occasionally cause fatigue or weakness. But when they got closer, they realized that she was surrounded by blood and a belt was tightly wrapped around her neck. Throughout this panic, Mo was nowhere to be found. So where exactly was he? This is exactly what detectives need to figure out as they begin to dive deep into his story.
I know you've given a couple statements as far as what you recall happening on that day where you were at. Can you just run through that again?
Well, and this, I've been talking with my wife because I might have my days mixed up on which, but I know now that me and her talked about it, I left the apartment at 11:30 with her because she has to be at work at 12:30 that day. And we went to lunch. So then I dropped her off at work at around 12:30, 12:35, and I came back to the apartment. And I got to the apartment between 12:45 and 1 o'clock.
Where'd you guys go to lunch at?
I'm gonna guess and say, but
Okay.
we do so many things. It's
Sure.
just hard to remember.
Well, yeah, that's a week down the road here, and I know I have a lot of problems remembering what I did this morning.
Yeah. So, but if I had to pick, I would say, but
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure if that's where we went. But we go somewhere almost every day.
Uh-huh.
But I remember, dropping her off and then coming back.
Okay, you dropped her off at work,
Yes, at work.
and where's that at? And then you went back to the apartment building?
Yes.
Okay, so what time do you think you got back to the apartment building?
I said between 12:45 and 1 o'clock.
What do you remember when you got back to the apartment building? Anything,
The only thing I remember, Mindy's car being parked there, and I remember a black truck being parked across the street.
Where was Mindy's car parked?
Like right in front of the building.
So it would have been facing.
Facing the water treatment.
What do you remember after that about anything? Anything out of the ordinary?
After I parked there?
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, I was in the apartment for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I just grabbed some more stuff and then went to her parents' house.
Okay, so you were still in the process of moving, is that what you're
Yeah, I've been moving all week and
Okay.
still moving.
Okay. So you get back there, you park, and you just run into your apartment for
Yeah.
10 minutes, you said?
Tops.
And did you just make like one trip out to the car or a couple?
This time?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just one trip out. I went in, went inside, and I think I grabbed a couple lamps or something. I don't even remember what I
Okay.
grabbed. It was just, I grabbed some things and then went to her parents' house.
So you were at the apartment building for a total of how long, do you think?
That time?
Yeah.
10 minutes at the most.
Okay. Okay, what about, backing up, what about earlier in the morning?
Well, me and my wife were both there.
Okay, you and your wife were both at that
When we
apartment?
left at 11:30, we were going to lunch.
Okay, so you left from there to go to lunch?
Yes. And that's why I was saying I might have my days mixed up because when I was talking to the other officer, I was saying, I went to go pick her up because that's what I usually do.
Mm-hmm.
But on that day, she didn't go into work till 12:30 because I had to work the night before.
Okay, is that her usual shift?
That's what I'm saying. It's because now that she doesn't go to daycare, I keep her
All
the
right,
majority of the time. But when I work, she doesn't go into work until 12:30. But if I don't work, then she goes at regular time, which is
Okay.
8:30 or 9:30. And that's why I was saying I didn't know if it was one of those days but I just knew she always usually goes to work at 12. So that even if she's there or not there, I either go pick her up at 12. That's what I meant. I go
Okay.
pick her up at 12. But on this day, we left the house at 11:30 to go eat lunch.
okay. Now, that morning, did you see Mindy around the apartment building at all?
No, I was asleep. I had to work the night before. So
Oh, okay. Okay, so you worked the night before. What shift or what time did you
I
get up?
worked 7 to 7,
Oh, okay.
7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
What time do you think you got up that morning then?
I believe it was close to 11:30. I mean,
Okay.
it's
So
because it's kind of hard because all the days get
Yeah,
mixed up
yeah,
with me,
yeah.
and I don't know. I'm assuming we left at 11:30.
No.
It could be 11:30, or we could have left at 12.
Okay.
I don't.
So you didn't see Mindy at all that day?
No, I didn't see her at all that day.
When you came home after you dropped your wife off,
Mm-hmm.
anything unusual that you noticed in the apartment building?
And here, I mean, from what I try to remember, because I remember the pine saw smell, but I don't remember if it was that time when I went right there, or because I made a couple trips back and forth. So it could have been that time when I came back, just dropping her off, or the next time that I came back. But I remember a pine saw smell, and I thought it was the manager cleaning the apartment upstairs because that door was open, and I seen she had rang my doorbell, so I thought she was cleaning upstairs.
These statements about the cleaning products at least are verifiable. The most distinctive and unsettling detail of the crime scene was the overwhelming pungent stench of pine sol, a heavy-duty cleaning agent, one that not only the entire apartment was drenched in, but Mindy was too. The killer made sure that he was thorough in trying to clean up the crime scene, and it worked because the majority of the fingerprints were compromised. Any on the belt or Mindy's body were rendered largely unrecoverable due to pine sol's abrasive and smear-inducing properties. So it makes sense that Mo was able to differentiate that smell from anything else. But as you'll find out, this trip where he smelled the cleaning products was only one of many.
Which door do you remember seeing open?
The one right on top of me, I don't know the number, but we stay on the one downstairs. If you go up the first steps in that first door, it was open.
So it'd be the one right above you was open?
The one right above me. So I thought she was cleaning out because those people had just moved out.
Okay, anything else that you remember during that time period?
No.
Okay, and so you were there 10 minutes and left.
And left.
You went to,
Parents' house
how long were you there?
for about an hour.
And after that?
Then I went back to the apartment and loaded the truck again.
When you say truck, what?
I have a Blazer.
Okay. Okay, how long do you think you were in your apartment during that trip?
That time it probably had been another 20 minutes.
Did you see anything out of the ordinary during that trip?
Nope. I didn't, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary the whole day. And, I was back and forth.
Okay, so what time was it about, you think, when you went back on the second trip?
I would have to say probably about 2:15.
Okay, so you load up the truck and then,
And I go back to her parents' house.
what do you do there again?
I unloaded the truck. And then I went, that time I probably stayed for probably another hour because I was talking to her dad when he left.
Okay.
And then I went back, loaded the truck again.
Back again?
Yeah.
So what time is it, do you think, when you got back there the third time?
I would say it would have to be 4:30 because I stayed at her parents' house, so it was time to go get.
Right. Okay, were you by yourself?
I was with the whole time.
With you on all the trips back and forth?
She doesn't go to daycare anymore.
Okay.
So I have her.
So I was thinking maybe you left her at
No.
your parents' place. So when you went back the third time, how long do you think you spent there?
Another 20 minutes. Because there's nothing, there's not even a TV in there.
Okay.
So I just, grabbed the boxes that I need to grab, put it in the truck and left.
Did you see Mindy around at all during the afternoon?
No.
You didn't see Mindy at all that evening?
No.
Okay. Sometime evidently that evening then things must have started happening around there.
Well, and we didn't even, notice, they said they were screaming and yelling up and down the hallway. We didn't hear none of that.
Okay.
I was putting sleep maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I happened to see flashing lights. So I looked out the window like, oh, police are outside. They must have pulled somebody over right in front of the building. So then looked out the window and said, nah, something else going on out there. So she went outside and then came back in and told me what happened. But we didn't even hear nothing. We had the air conditioner going and the TV going.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't, they said they were out there screaming. We didn't hear it.
Okay.
Needless to say, there are a few problems with Mo's alibi. According to him, he worked a 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift as a corrections officer. Once he was back home, he left with his wife at 11:30 a.m. to go grab lunch, after which he dropped her off at work between 12:30 and 12:35 p.m. Now here is where his story takes a strange turn. Between 12:45 p.m. and 1 p.m., which would line up with Mindy's time of death, Mo made a trip to the apartment complex to grab a few things. Next, he drove to his in-laws, and in the following hours he made 2 more trips back to the apartment, one at 2:15 p.m. and another at 4:30 p.m., both times staying for 20 minutes. Keep in mind that the body wasn't found until almost 9 p.m., which would have given Mo plenty of time to clean up the crime scene. Moreover, the initial stop at 12:45 would have given Mo plenty of time to murder Mindy, as she stopped replying to texts and calls at that exact time. And lastly, if Mo really did need to move things, why not do it in 1 trip rather than 3? Now this corrupt cop finds himself in a corner, spinning lie after lie.
So you found out previous evening, your wife evidently found out and told you what happened. What was your reaction?
Well, at first I didn't really know who she was talking about, because we know each other, but we don't really know each other like that. She was just like, the little girl said somebody got killed upstairs. And then she went back out, and I was just like, wow, in this building. I was like, so then she came back in and was like, it's Mindy. And then I was trying to calm her down because she's pregnant, and I didn't want nothing to happen to her.
Who's pregnant?
My wife's pregnant.
Okay.
So then I was just like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So then that's when we walked outside, and they were telling us, her friend found her, and she's screaming and yelling up and down. And I was like, when was she screaming and yelling? I was like, we didn't hear that. We've been in the apartment all day. And she was like, well, she just found her right a little while ago. And I was like, we didn't even hear that. I just seen flashing lights. So.
Yeah. Okay. What did you find out happened?
Just that she got killed. I heard stories, after that.
Yeah.
But
what kind of stories have you heard?
That first it was she committed, and then it was somebody killed her, and then just the little stories like, oh, it was this person and some guy wandering down the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Just little stories, but I don't really pay attention to them.
Okay. So do you have any idea how she died? Did anybody tell you exactly how she died?
No, not exactly how she died.
Okay, so you have no idea.
Well, they said that her throat got cut.
Okay.
And, that's what
Uh-huh.
I heard on. I think they said it on TV or somebody. I think somebody told us that her throat got cut.
Okay.
And that was.
Okay. Is there anything else that you can remember from that day?
No.
When do you think the last time was that you had saw her prior?
It was that week and a half ago when
The week and a half ago.
Yeah.
So you haven't seen her for about 10 days? So,
Yeah.
okay. And you said you've been in her apartment once?
Once.
And was that the last time you saw her?
That was the last time I saw her.
With Mo denying almost everything without a solid alibi, the examiner will finally subject him to the polygraph test. And to Mo's benefit, he will even be told the questions heading his way.
Okay. These are the questions I'm going to ask you. Now, they're not necessarily going to be in the same order, but these will be the questions, and I'll go over them with you now, and I'm going to need a yes or no answer on each one of them, okay?
Okay.
Regarding Mindy's death, do you intend to truthfully answer those questions?
Oh, you want me to answer now? Yes.
On September 13th, did you physically harm Mindy and cause her death?
No.
Did you injure Mindy and cause her death?
No.
Okay, now these next 3 you have to listen carefully to, but you should be able to answer no to these because you said you haven't done these in the past. Between the ages of 21 and 33, do you remember hurting someone on purpose?
No.
During the first 21 years of your life, do you remember hurting someone who loved you?
No.
During the first 33 years of your life, do you remember a girl to have sex with you?
No.
Is this the month of September?
Yes.
Do you believe me when I promise you I won't ask a question we haven't gone over word for word?
Yes.
Even though I promised you I would not, are you afraid I'll ask a question we haven't gone over word for word?
No.
Okay, those are the questions. You okay with them?
Yep.
Shortly afterward, the examiner hooks him up to the polygraph sensors and begins the test.
Do you believe me when I promise you I won't ask a question we haven't gone over word for word?
Yes.
Regarding Mindy's death, do you intend to truthfully answer those questions?
Yes.
between the ages of 21 and 33, do you remember hurting someone on purpose?
No.
On September 13th, did you physically harm Mindy and cause her death?
No.
Did you injure Mindy and cause her death?
No.
During the first 33 years of your life, do you remember the girl that happened to you?
No.
Even though I promised you I would not, are you afraid I'll ask a question? We haven't gone over word for word.
No.
You said you have no idea how Mindy died or anything. Is that correct? Other than what you heard, that she had her throat cut. But other than that, you wouldn't have any idea of anything that happened
No.
to her?
No.
Okay. You have no idea if, she was tied up or she was...
Well, I've heard it wasn't a fault.
Okay. But you don't know, you shouldn't know, was she tied up or anything like that?
No.
Okay, you don't know if she was with a blanket or anything like that, or with a plastic bag, or whether she was like that?
No.
Okay. So, if I told you she was also with something, you wouldn't have any idea what that item should be, should you?
No.
Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make up another 8 questions. And what they're going to be are different things that she could have been with.
Okay.
And again, I'll go over with you. And only the person that was actually in there should know that. And you weren't in there, so you shouldn't know any of this.
Okay.
All right? Just relax there a little bit, and I'm going to make up some more questions.
At this stage in the interrogation, it's critical to understand what detectives, and eventually the medical examiner, concluded about Mindy Morgenstern's cause of death. The autopsy revealed 2 distinct and devastating injuries. First, deep slash wounds to the throat, and second, ligature marks around her neck, consistent with strangulation by a cloth belt. Now, hooked up to a polygraph, he has a surprise test headed his way.
These are the 8 choices, and I'm going to need an answer on each one of these as I go through them, okay?
Okay.
Here's the way the questions are going to go. Which of the following items was wrapped around Mindy's neck? A rope?
So am I supposed to answer yes or no to it?
That's correct. How are you going to answer it?
So do I answer like, is this what it was, or I don't know?
That's, well, either I need a yes or no answer. Basically, you're going to have to answer it no if you don't know.
Oh, no.
If you do know, you have to answer yes.
Okay. No.
Okay? Okay, which of the following items was wrapped around Mindy's neck? A rope?
No.
A bra?
No.
A pair of pants?
No.
A pair of nylons?
No.
A shoelace?
No.
A belt?
No.
A hose?
No.
A clothes hanger?
No.
Those are going to be the questions. All right?
Okay.
All right. Okay, the questions are about to begin again. Which of the following items was wrapped around Mindy's neck? A rope?
No.
A bra?
No.
A pair of nylons?
No.
A shoelace?
No.
The polygraph examiner repeats all the questions you just heard multiple times. This is done as standard procedure to establish physiological baselines, ensure consistency in responses, and most importantly, improve the reliability of tests. After all, polygraphs do not exactly detect lies, they only detect physiological responses, which may or may not correlate with deception and can often be unreliable. And in Mo's case, he's about to be told of his stellar performance.
Okay, how do you think you did?
I passed.
Well, there's a little bit of indication there that something is bothering you about this, and I guess I just want to try and get it resolved.
Bother me about what?
Well, like for example, you claim you didn't know anything about what was wrapped around her neck and that, but yet when I asked you about the belt, you really reacted to it, and I guess I'm just sort of wondering why that was.
I just answered, truthfully. I don't know.
Okay. You consider yourself a pretty honest person, right?
Yes.
And how much did you know about Mindy?
Not a whole lot. Just, the little stories I hear from talking,
Like what kind of stories?
she's dingy and, you know.
Sort of sounds like she went out with a lot of guys and hit on a lot of guys too. Did you ever see that?
I've only even known her with one person.
Oh, okay.
And that was just because, you know, that's who they said it was her boyfriend.
Sure.
So, but I mean, other than that, I don't know about her personal life.
Okay. But, you know, just to go back over what you told me, you had no contact with her at all that day, you said?
That day, no.
Okay. Nothing the day before. You said, in fact, you haven't seen her for like 10 days, you said?
Yes.
Okay. And you've only been in the apartment the one time, you said. That was when you helped her carry the stuff up or whatever.
Yes.
And since then, you haven't been in the apartment?
No.
Why, you know, and I'm still trying to understand why you were reacting to the questions, you know, and as far as causing Mindy's injuries, there seemed to be something there that was bothering you a little bit.
I couldn't, I mean, I don't know nothing about it. I mean, just,
Okay.
you know, the stuff that I hear.
Yeah.
And as far as anything else, I wasn't there, so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bothering me that I know, I mean,
Uh-huh.
because I know I wasn't there.
Okay.
So.
Okay, and you're positive that nobody told you anything else about the crime scene as far as how she died or anything like that? There isn't anything that you know?
Well, I mean, I hear, you know, people have said, you know, this is what happened, this is what happened, but
Mm-hmm.
as far as how true that goes, you know,
Yeah.
I can't say for sure because they say nobody knows, but I mean, I heard stories, but
Mm-hmm.
as far as what actually happened, I don't know.
Okay.
So, I mean, but yeah, I've heard several different ways, you know,
Okay.
but
Have you ever been in that apartment other than the time you told me about?
no.
Did you have any type of relationship going with Mindy or anything?
None
You
whatsoever.
know, and I know you just got married, and you may be afraid to talk about it, but if you did, we
No.
need to know about it so we can
None.
explain the reactions here.
None whatsoever.
Okay. Did you see her at all that day?
Not that
Something
they
was
know.
bothering you about this, and I'm just trying to.
Well, I mean, it's a, you know, for me to be sitting in here, I mean, yeah, you're trying to eliminate, but, you know, to go from one thing story to all of a sudden now it's black people involved, and being the only one in the building, you know.
Yeah.
Mo might continue to deny ever seeing Mindy that day, but his own body tells a different story. Before walking into the interrogation, several injuries were observed on his hands, a scratch on his right and a gouge on his left. These were consistent with someone being clawed at during a violent struggle, and considering the DNA under Mindy's fingernails, Mo doesn't realize just how much trouble he's really in.
DNA is pretty specific.
Mm-hmm.
You know, down to millions of people.
Yeah, I understand that.
And somewhere along the line, Mindy scratched the person that attacked her. Do you have any fresh scratches on you or anything?
From Wednesday? No. From after Wednesday? Yeah.
Okay,
My
like
wife
where do you have scratches?
on my arm and right here. This happened Thursday, this happened Friday. And my
Okay.
wife can verify it because she,
What about any other scratches that you have on you anywhere?
No.
Nothing on your head or,
I shave, I mean,
yeah, like on your neck or your face or
No.
anything like that?
nothing.
Well, you know, I'm serious about this now.
And I
And
understand. I understand.
we're in a bind here. Your DNA is matching what we found on her, under her fingernails.
I don't know how my DNA was under her fingernails.
Okay, you didn't have any contact with her that day at all?
No.
Or not for
no.
10 days, you said?
At least 10 days.
Yeah.
When I helped her upstairs.
Okay, your DNA is under her fingernails. You reacted to the belt on her neck. You haven't been completely honest with me about. You haven't been completely honest with me about your background because I probably know some things about you that you haven't told other people. You've been through this before, Mo. Not exactly like this, but you worked with the system enough where, you know, the only thing that's really going to help you out here is to cut your losses.
Well, I had nothing to do with her death. I know that.
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
Okay.
My background, okay, yeah. I can,
You didn't tell me the truth on all that.
as
did you?
far as my military past, no, I didn't.
Okay.
But I mean, And as you said, I didn't tell nobody that. Nobody really knows that.
Uh-huh.
But as my military past, yes, yeah, I'll admit to that. But
Okay.
I had nothing to do with her death. No,
Were you there when she was killed?
no, I was not.
No. The DNA, the polygraph here, I can maybe argue with. A lot of people don't agree with or believe in polygraph. No, the chief here doesn't believe in polygraph. And
This is the
sometimes,
first time I ever took one,
Okay,
so
yeah,
I
yeah,
have no clue
yeah,
about it.
and there are times I wonder about the results too. But when we get DNA backbone and it says this is the person that it matches this person out of so many million, we can't argue with that mole. Plus, I'm going to let you in on something else here.
It's fine.
The DNA that they brought up, it also matches the DNA that was found on the girl that was 2 years ago in Fargo.
Okay. 2 years ago in Fargo?
Yep, in 2004. During the time period you were in Fargo.
Well, what is it? I know I didn't do it.
Mo, everybody says you're a good guy. The people that work with you, everybody around here loves you. Sometimes we just do stupid things. Whether we're drinking or doing or whatever, or we get caught up in something that we don't intend to do. And you had some problems in the past, I understand that, but you've also not been in trouble for a while.
Yeah, you're right.
You just got a new wife. She's pregnant. People make mistakes, Mo.
I didn't make this mistake, so.
Mo, I know you're going to sit there and tell me that, but as I said, the polygraph, I can dismiss that. The DNA, I can't. I have to find, you tell me then, how did scrapings or your skin get under her fingernails? How could that have happened?
You tell me. I know nothing about DNA. I know I wasn't there.
The only way it could have gotten there, Mo, was through contact. And what I was getting with about Mindy, I know she's, we found out that she's probably gone out with quite a few guys. And I don't think anybody would blame you if you had tried taking her out or anything, or were having some type of relationship with her.
Tragically, just a month before being killed, Mindy reported a deeply disturbing encounter. On August 22, 2006, she was returning to her apartment when an older man stopped her and asked for directions. While the details are not exactly known, Mindy was affected to the point that she went to the Valley City Police Department to file a report. When CSIs discovered the kitchen knives that were used to kill Mindy, they had parts of DNA present on them from 2 unknown male contributors, which could not be identified due to contamination and breakdown. Given Mo's gang affiliations and violent past, investigators couldn't rule out that others may have been involved, but without hard evidence, all of this remains speculative.
Didn't happen. I never tried to take her out. Never.
Okay. Were you up in her apartment at all, other than the one time the 10 days ago?
No. I wasn't.
So there isn't going to be, you know what trace evidence is? Trace evidence is little pieces of hair, little pieces of clothing particles, anything, things like that end up on a body. They transfer from one person to the other.
Yeah.
And are we going to find any trace evidence, trace particles from you on her body? We already got DNA.
You shouldn't know. You want my clothes? They're probably still sitting in the dirty clothes hamper.
Where would they be?
At parents' house. We just moved them from the apartment to the thing in the hamper.
Okay. What were you wearing that day?
Blue shorts and a white tank top. So.
Mo, I'm only doing this because you're a fellow law enforcement person, but you need to cut your losses here.
There is no losses to cut.
Yes, there are.
Okay.
I'm not lying to you here. You are in trouble here.
Okay, well, what's our next step? I mean, because you can talk to me till you turn blue in the face. I know I didn't do nothing. I can talk to you till I turn blue in the face. You're going to go off of what you got to do, and I'm going to do what I got to do.
Okay.
So I know I didn't do nothing. Now what do we do?
Well, I think there's gonna be somebody else that's gonna wanna talk to you.
And that's fine.
And,
So do I need to tell them pick up the kid, the truck? Or?
yeah, we'll take care of that in a little bit. What we're gonna do here, what I'm trying to do is give you a break. And you know, right now, or try and convince you that you need to do whatever you can to help yourself. But you've been through the system enough. You know how judges are. If somebody comes in and says, yeah, I screwed up, they take that into account. If somebody sits there and says, I didn't have anything to do with it, when there's overwhelming evidence against them, the judge does not take kindly to that. You're going to have to decide which is best for you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep. So,
And again, that's as somebody that's in law enforcement. I can't make you help yourself.
I understand that.
With Mo denying absolutely everything, the interview comes to a halt. That is, until a pair of detectives walk in and give him a run for his money in one final confrontation.
I'd like to talk to you a little bit about this other situation that's going on, because we've had a lot of development. I know you don't want to talk about it, but just try to hear me out.
Okay. Listen.
And I know they talked to you about the DNA that we found with her that matches yours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there's no way to get around that. It's obviously that you were there. And how, I don't know, have you been to skills school? Have you been to the academy yet or anything like that? Have you had any experience on how trace evidence goes? How blood can transfer from one person to another, and no matter how much you clean it off, it's going to be in there. And we're going to be doing search warrants today on all these places. You could have been in there and washed your hands or whatever, and we're going to find trace evidence from her. Now, how are we going to explain that?
It's not going to happen because she's not.
It's
not. I wasn't there. She wasn't.
Let's say,
there,
for example, we do find trace evidence from her because there was quite a bit of blood at the scene. It always gets transferred. You know how much blood we need for DNA? Pin drop.
Okay, well.
And it's not going to be in your place. I mean, if we do, this is your chance. Man. How are you going to explain? Let's say to your wife, your kids, your family, you go, and we got to go back and tell them, we proved this up. We found evidence here. We found evidence there. We've got his DNA. How's that gonna look when they go, he didn't show any remorse? No. Dale and I both say here, we're giving you an opportunity to tell us about what happened.
And I appreciate that.
And a lot of things can happen. Like I talked to you before, there's two sides of every story, right?
What are you talking about? Are you talking about this or are you talking about?
Well, I'm talking about the thing in Valley City.
Oh.
I mean, this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen.
Fine.
And we're gonna put this all together, and we wanna know what type of person you are. Do you have any feelings about what happened here? Maybe you were intoxicated, maybe you were high.
I don't drink,
Maybe.
I don't do.
Okay, maybe
Of course, it's a very bad thing that happened, and for it to happen.
And you seem like a person that if this would happen, we can explain what happened. That there's no question about it right now that you were involved in this.
Okay.
And you have to tell us what type of person you are. Here's what happened. Here's why I went there. There's absolutely, things got out of hand. Looks like she was going to come at me, so I was defending myself. Whatever happened? Well, because there's no question that you were involved in this.
Okay.
And then when we put it together, and then the state's attorney or who's ever in charge and the judge and all that, they're going to ask us, how did Mo react to this? And we say, we got to go back and tell them this guy doesn't care at all what he did. Or would we rather go back and say, he's taken responsibility for what he did? Now, how's that?
If I did it, I would take responsibility for it.
Okay.
But I know I didn't do it. So it's a very bad thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt bad when it happened. Mm-hmm. But as far as me having involvement in it, I didn't do it. So
you're not being honest with us here.
Okay.
Both us and Dale and I have had tons of training, and we know when somebody's not being truthful. What we do like to know is why things happen. It's obvious to us, and I'm going to be brutally honest with you here. You're not being honest with what happened.
Okay.
And then you're going to have to explain to your family and all that about I didn't show any remorse. I didn't take any responsibility. It's time to take some responsibility for this. It's going to be put in, we're going to be doing it. We're going to find the trace evidence. We've already got the DNA evidence.
Okay, well,
We're
find
going
it.
to have it, you know.
Find it. I mean, like I told, I mean, we haven't washed clothes. I can tell you exactly where my clothes are at. They're in the laundry basket. And you find anything on there, you know.
Well, here's the deal. You know we're going to have to do some other things. As you keep asking what's the next step or what are we going to do next. You know that there's probably things we're going to have to do. We're going to be doing search warrants. And we're going to be doing search warrants at different places. You know, your old apartment, your in-laws' place, wherever we think we need to go. You can help us make it a lot easier on us and also on them. Especially on the family. And we don't think that you're a bad person. We think something happened there. This isn't something that Mo Gibbs goes out and does every day. You know, he's not a cold-blooded killer or anything like that. But we need your help a little bit here too, Mo.
I can't help you with what happened with her.
Can your family help us?
Do you think they're involved in it?
I don't know. That's something.
That's
something we're going to have to look at, Mo.
You can look at it however you want to. Do what you gotta do. I didn't do this.
No, I'm going to, again, be honest. There's absolutely no question that you did.
Okay.
We're being honest.
So then it shouldn't be no more further discussion then.
No, but we don't want to take you to jail and just go, well, hey,
That's
go to
the
state's
next
attorney.
thing. Obviously that's
That's
right.
gonna happen.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
But when we
obviously.
tell the people, do we tell her family, do we tell the judge, we tell the state's attorney? We gave him this
You
opportunity.
gave, and I appreciate this opportunity, but I didn't do it. So you gotta do what you gotta do. And I'll sit and wait until you so-called.
I've talked to so many people about this.
And
that
they
when
said
it
I did
happens-
it.
No,
Oh, I
no,
was
I'm
gonna
talking to
say.
everybody. And then when it comes time, when they go to the front of that judge, in front of that jury,
And say
in front of
Mo's a
that
vicious
family,
person, right?
in front of their family,
They're gonna
and
say
they
Mo's
go,
a vicious
God
person."
dang it, Jim, I wish I would have talked to you then, because now you can't help me out at all. I said, no, this is your chance, Mo. This is your chance to help yourself out, help the family out. We don't want to go back and say, Mo's a cold-blooded killer, because we don't think that. We're going to say, here, we talked to Mo, we gave him, and this is very difficult to do. I understand that. It's very difficult to do. But if you honestly think about it, this is going to happen, you're going to be charged with this. You're an intelligent person, right?
I understand all
You're an
that.
intelligent person. Okay, just look at it this way. Okay, I go before the judge. I talk to Dale. I talk to everybody involved with this. Did you give him an opportunity to talk to you about what happened? Yes, we did. And what did he tell you? He said, I don't talk to you. I don't do anything. Now we go before the
Is that
judge.
what I
Now,
said? Did I say that?
no. So
I'm
and now
telling
we
you, I had
we
no-
would rather go, you know, Your Honor, state's attorney, family. Yes, we talked to him, and this is what happened, and he's absolutely so remorseful about what happened. It's a terrible thing. He took responsibility for what he did. Okay, you're an intelligent person. What's going to happen to one person that doesn't say anything or the other one takes responsibility? Who's going to get consideration? Who's going to get any consideration? You're a smart person. Who's going to get some consideration? The person that takes some responsibility or the other one that says, I ain't do it, and then proves that it is you? Who's going to get, just think that logically, who's going to get the consideration? Just answer me. I mean, you're a smart person.
It'd be the person who
Takes
takes
responsibility.
responsibility
Right.
for what they did.
And this is the
what
position
they
you're
did.
and this is the position you're in right now. So help yourself out. I don't want to come back and see you later on and go, God dang it, Jim, I wish I would have talked to you. I wish I would have told you. Because right now I'm looking at this,
If I did it, I'd take responsibility for it.
The reason that Mo is so confident is because he still thinks that his DNA can't be found. After all, he made several trips back and forth to clean up the crime scene, and it almost worked. The only thing that he did not anticipate was the fact that Mindy's struggling and scratching had left his DNA under her fingernails, and now he will be given a brutal reality check.
let's just say we go to your place or your in-laws and your cars, and let's say, okay, we find a minute drop of blood from Mindy, then we have to explain that.
Okay.
Would you be willing to talk to us if we
Sure.
come back?
And what if you don't find nothing? You
Would
still
like
like
to
to talk to me?
Sure.
I'll talk to you either way.
That's fine.
You know.
Dude, I mean, my truck is right out there.
And I told her that too. We're always here. If you want to talk to us, we're willing to do that. And again, just because you were involved in law enforcement, that's maybe why we're taking a little extra time with you, trying to get you to understand, the position you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Because it also reflects on us, okay? And what we would like to say is that a fellow law enforcement officer made a mistake, but he also admitted.
So why not say a fellow officer was accused and then found not guilty? So you were saying you already just got in your mind that, yeah.
Well, you don't know a lot about DNA, do you?
I can care less about DNA.
Well, DNA is what is the new thing right now. That is a thing that
Okay.
solves the crimes for us, because DNA evidence is indisputable. You can't argue with it, because they're going to come in and say, this DNA was under, this person's DNA was under her fingernails, and there's only 1 in 900 million people that have that type of DNA. And it's not something that we can dispute and say, oh, no, they're wrong. It's that accurate, Mo.
Okay.
And what I'm asking you, and this is mainly for your wife and your kid that's on the way in that. Just sit there and relax a little bit.
Did you, can you explain how our DNA got done?
Can't explain it.
No. Getting back to the part of Sheila familiar?
Not really.
Okay. Maybe.
I mean, blonde. I mean,
Well, yeah, I know. Good.
I mean, and I can't say for sure. I mean, it's possible. If she said she met me and left from, it's possible. But I mean, did it happen just one time? Did I only see her one time?
That's what she said.
That we only seen each other one time, and
One time.
it's possible. It happened a few times that I picked somebody up at the bar and went somewhere. But I know for a fact that I've never saw anybody. I never had to just take anything.
We'll be back to talk. We'll let you know.
Could you stand up, please, and put your hand behind your back? We have an arrest warrant for the murder of Mindy Morgenstern. Okay. There's your copy. We have a search warrant for you.
You got any scratches on you?
I do, but not from that day.
Whereabouts?
On my hands right here.
What happened?
This one over here happened Thursday.
What happened? That's it.
I was moved on.
Right
this
there?
way up.
Oh, what happened there?
That happened Thursday when I was moving.
Uh-huh.
This
What
one-
happened? What happened when you...
I was like packing stuff in boxes. And this one on this side right here, I
Let's
can't.
see. Well,
No, I
let me see.
can't really.
I just want to look. You don't mind, do you?
No.
I don't.
That happened Friday in Fargo,
Uh-huh.
and I was put in a car seat. You can ask my wife.
Do you know what you cut yourself? You know what? If we can show what you cut yourself on. When
I
you
don't know
moved,
exactly what it was.
What do you think it was?
I was packing boxes. I'm not sure.
So, what do you think? How do you think this happened?
I don't know. So
You don't seem too upset about this.
what can I do? I can yell, scream, and moan. It's not gonna make a difference. I'm still sitting here in handcuffs. I
Well,
can
the thing is,
I can
you
scream,
know,
yell, and moan, and get tased. I
I
can scream, yell, and moan.
just think you're making a mistake by not.
Okay, well,
That's-
because I know
Something happened, and you can say, you know what, this is what happened, and I was only protected. I don't care. Something, not that I went in and I just butchered this gal. That's what they're going to say out there.
You're right. You told me that
And
already.
you know what? If something happened and you had to defend yourself, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Something, she said something that was totally uncalled for. I don't know what happened, but just to go in and kill this girl doesn't make sense to me. And I don't see that from
Thank
you.
you.
I don't see that from
At
you.
least one person is saying that.
But the evidence is saying
Okay. But the evidence has been wrong before, right?
not DNA.
Okay. Well.
You know what? A lot of people have gotten out of prison through DNA, but the same thing, DNA puts them in, and you know that. But I wish there was something, anything, for you to say, this is what happened.
And I wish I could too, but I can't. So.
I could help you out, but I can't. I can't help you out. These guys are gonna do what they want to do.
And you're right. They're going to do exactly what they want to do.
You know what? We could set the record straight though.
There's no setting it straight.
I read the reports. But you know what? Do you think I would come in and say,
Okay.
Mo,
You read
you
the
did it?
reports. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that.
Well,
In the wake of Mo's arrest, a wave of allegations surfaced from the very prison where he worked. 5 female inmates at the Barnes County Jail came forward to independently report that Gibbs had assaulted them while he was employed as a corrections officer. They described a man who routinely exploited his authority, preying on inmates in isolated areas. Consequently, by late 2007, Mo Gibbs was sentenced to 15 years in prison for the jail assaults, 12 years for the assault in Fargo, both to run concurrently with his life sentence for the murder of Mindy Morgenstern.